This topic is adding images through HTML. To add an image to the page through HTML, you would use an image tag. When you add an image, you must specify the source of the image so the browser knows what image file to display on the page. Typically, you will also set the width and height. You should also specify an alt tag, which links text to photos so search engines and screen readers can understand the context of an image since they can't see it. Let me show you an example of how to put an image into the HTML. I can select where I want the image to go in Dreamweaver. I can say Insert Image. I can select my image, say Choose, add alternative text such as, in this case, food drive, and it adds the photo for me. Now, however, I don't actually want the photo to be this size. You can change in the HTML the size. So let's say I'm going to make it half the size. I change the width and the height so that the proportions stay the same. Now, what I did is actually a very bad example. A better way of doing this is to actually resize the photo in Photoshop or another photo editing program, because what I'm making the user do in this case is I'm making them spend the time to download the full entire image, which obviously is a larger file size than if I'd resaved the file to the new dimensions that I've made it. But I'm just going to show this for demonstration purposes. I'm going to go ahead and save my page. You can also add the code by hand, which would be an image tag, which designates the source, the alt tag, the width, and the height of the photo. So now that I have this saved, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to preview this in the browser. So here's what it looks like in my browser. Let me get it centered here. So here's what it looks like in my browser. However, I don't really want it to look like this. I actually want the paragraph to be next to the photo, so I'm going to show you how to do that in the CSS. So if we look at the code, or if we select what it is we're interested in affecting and we look at it, we can see that what we have selected is an image. I'm going to go ahead and specifically target images in main content, just for an example. So if I open up my style sheet, I'm going to go ahead and just here at the bottom, I'm going to add main content image, which is IMG, because our tag in our HTML tag is IMG for image. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell it to float to the left. Now that's going to make it so that the image floats to the left. That's going to make it so that my image floats to the left. And if you remember, when you float something, it brings it out of the flow of the document, which means that everything else will be pushed up. So now I'm going to go ahead and preview that. So here's what I had before. I click refresh, and you can see that now the text is up by the photo. However, I don't want it touching the photo, so what I need to do is I'm going to add a little bit of padding to my image on the right hand side to push the text away. So let me go back to my CSS. I'm going to add padding right, and I'm going to just put on 5 pixels as an example. So now that I save that, I can go back to my page, I can refresh, and I can see it's moved over. Maybe I decide to add a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and change it to 10 pixels, save that, go back to my page, refresh again, and now you can see it's pretty well spaced out. So that's an example of putting an image into the page inside of the HTML.